Happy Friday, everyone. I'm so thrilled to have you here for another edition of Five Things Friday. And this week, I have a special guest and an author friend who I cannot wait to introduce you to. But before we get to that, Lori, what is this news of Oprah and Leavenworth? No, I did not see this. And now I'm going to have to go find it. And the thing is, we all knew this already, but now that Oprah has said it, it has to be true. So it's more proof that my books are not just purely fiction, minus all those, sneaky little murders, of course. That's so cool. I'm so happy to have you all here, and I want to know what you have on your Friday agenda. Remember, there's sometimes a little delay, so if I don't answer your question right away, I will get to it. The same goes for my guest today. Feel free to ask questions as we go, and I'm going to reserve time at the end to answer most of them. And if there's something pertinent that pops up during our discussion, of course, I will get to it. So I have to introduce you today to S.C. Perkins. Her name is sort of mysterious. I know her as Stephanie or Steph, and I'll let her explain in a minute why she has that name. I also want her to talk about how she came to have her first book published. I was lucky enough to read an early copy of it, and it was so fantastic. But she has a really interesting story in terms of how she secured her first book contract. But today, she's here to talk about her new book that just came out. Look at that cover. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. We are both published by the same publishing house, and I know that I'm biased, and we'll have to ask Steph if she agrees, but I think that these covers are just amazing and to die for. So Lineage Most Lethal just came out last week. So join me in welcoming S.C. Perkins. Hello.
Hi. It's so good to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being here with me. I have to tell everyone that we met first at Malice, a few years ago now.
Yes, at the bar.
At the bar, like you do.
Yes, exactly.
It is a cliche, but that's what happens at mystery conventions. You meet at the bar. And you had just gotten your first contract, and tell people how that came about.
So Minotaur Books and Malice Domestic team up for a competition called the Malice Domestic Best First Traditional Novel Competition. And
That's
it's been
going
on. It is a mouthful. It's been going on for over 20 years, I believe, and there have been a lot of great winners from it, such as Donna Andrews, who writes the bird pun titled mysteries, that Meg Langslow mysteries, which I love, and Julia Spencer Fleming is another one of them. And anyway, so I entered it. I saw the call for it in Criminal Element. And I entered it, and I ended up winning. And so it was so exciting. Thus far, I think that for at least right now, I think there might be retooling it because I'm the last winner as of right now, but they may be putting it out again. So if you're a prospective writer and write cozy mysteries or traditional mysteries, definitely keep your eyes out for that notice in Criminal Element if Minotaur puts it back out. So.
That's awesome. And that's not always, the way that somebody finds their path to publication. So I think that's so cool to enter a contest and then end up with a book contract.
Yes, I was just about to start querying agents. And so that worked out really well. And actually, one of the top agents on my list, author Kate Carlisle, who is so wonderful, she ended up at Malice saying she wanted to introduce me to my agent. And that's how I got my agent, Christina, and Jess. I actually have two agents. So it's been a wonderful, amazing ride so far. I'm very grateful.
And that's one of the things that I always try to share with readers. I think there's this perception that writers are so protective and perhaps not supportive, that it's more, cutthroat or something, which I know for me has not been the case at all. And even just in terms of you, like I was in Houston last year before everything shut down, and we met for lunch, and you took me on a tour of Rice and just made me feel so welcome. And that's always the vibe I get from this community.
Absolutely. Everyone is so amazing. I mean, you offered to help me from the get-go while we were sitting at the bar with our editor at the time, Hannah. And yes, I know we loved Hannah, and I have a new Hannah now, and I love her too. And I know you have a different editor and whatnot, but yes, you were so wonderful, and you said email me if you have any questions, and it was just the most amazing thing. I was so brand new to it, and to have somebody who had published as many books as you had at the time, and to just be so warm and welcoming, and everyone was. I mean, again, that's how I got my agent, was this, big cozy mystery writer, Kate Carlisle, saying, I think you're great. Your book sounds wonderful. I want to introduce you to my agent. So I am very, very much I feel like that I just hit the lucky jackpot. So, but yes, everyone in the mystery community, we write about death and murder and whatnot, but we are the nicest people. It really is true.
It's true. We're not really cutthroat, just only on the page.
Exactly.
Okay, so I know you as Stephanie, but technically your books are published under SC, and that's just because you share the name with another author, right?
That's correct. There's another author named Stephanie Perkins, and she's great. She writes young adult novels, and I believe young adult horror or suspense, and she writes at 2 genres. But she's wonderful, and we've been in contact with each other just a little bit and everything. So anyway, I always knew I wanted to write as S.C. Perkins starting in college. But it turned out to be something that I needed to do as well, because there was another one out there, and everyone kept going, "Oh, Stephanie, I've got your books." And I was like, "Not yet."
You don't actually.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not so. It used to be a really big problem, and now it's not so much anymore, except for in situations like this where they're like, "Hey, Stephanie," and then people start. They start looking for Stephanie Perkins online, which thank you for anyone who does that. You do need to look under SC Perkins for me. So it stands for Stephanie Celeste, and so it actually is my name.
I love that.
Yeah.
Before we get into your 5 things, will you give everybody just a quick little recap of Lineage Most Lethal, which just came out last week, right?
Yes, it just came out, and it is book 2 in the Ancestry Detective series. And in Lucy, my main character, who's a professional genealogist, she is hanging out at a boutique hotel that is owned by her current client and having a little staycation. And she is outside, and this man staggers up to her, puts a pin in her hand and says, "Keep them safe," and drops down dead at her feet. And her grandfather is absolutely, she just loves him so much, and he also collects Mont Blanc pens. So she shows it to him, and he recognizes it as a piece of his secret World War II past. And then there turns out to be a killer targeting some of these people connected with this, and there you go. So,
now, I think if that's not a premise that you all want to read, I don't know what is. If somebody hands you this and then they drop dead in front of you, that's amazing.
Exactly. Yes, it was a lot of fun to write.
And the one thing is you weave genealogy into your writing too.
Yes. My main character is a genealogist, and so I have a lot of fun researching and weaving all the genealogy in there. And so my first one, I did a lot of genealogy information, and that one was for my debut, Murder Once Removed. And for Lineage Most Lethal, I focused a little bit more on the research aspect of how you work for, it's called a pedigree chart or an ancestral chart, of how you start with that and then trace a person back through their ancestry. And so that was a lot of fun, along with the World War II information. That was so much fun. So
love it. Renee's looking so forward to reading this book. You should. They're great.
Thank you.
They're so fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, isn't that an interesting premise? Cheryl says. I think so too. There's always like that rabbit hole of genealogy too. But before we get too deep into that, I asked you to come up with five things. So without further ado, let's get to number 1.
Okay. Well, I decided to do 2 genealogy factoids, 2 factoids about my book, and then 1 about me, and they all are genealogy related. So sorry, I'm like flinging I'm animated. I talk with my hands, and so I fling my little my earbuds around. So anyway, one of the things I get asked the most is people don't understand what the term "once removed" means. Ooh. And I do, and I do explain it in my books, but I thought that I would explain it again.
Yeah.
And so So whenever you say you're once removed, all it means is that you are a generation older or younger than your cousin in question that you're trying to establish a relationship with. Like, for instance, you and I are not related, but let's just use ourselves as an example. Let's say that you and I are first cousins. That means your son is a generation younger than us. And so your son and I would be first cousins once removed. And your son, and then he would also be first cousins once removed to me. So where a lot of people get confused is because, like, you have your aunt and then the niece, or an aunt and a nephew and whatnot, and so it depends on the age bracket and the terms change. When you're talking about cousins, the terms stay the same. So I would be your son's first cousin once removed, and he would also be mine. It doesn't change. And so when it comes to um, and it's also older, like I said, as well. And then when it comes to second cousins, then what that would be is if I had a child and your son, they would be second cousins. So the children of first cousins once removed become second cousins. And so how I have what here I have a genealogy relationship chart, and how you work that is you go by your nearest common ancestor. So if you and I were first cousins, we do not descend from the same set of parents, but we descend from the same set of grandparents.
Okay.
So when you use a genealogy relationship chart, you go from your nearest common ancestor from whom you both descend. So if we were talking about me and your son, that would be my grandparent because we descend from the same set of grandparents, but that's his great grandparent. So whenever you use on the chart, you track down and it becomes first cousin once removed. And sorry, again, you can't even see it, but and so yeah, so that's what it means. Is once removed just means a generation younger or older than your cousin in question. Twice removed, 2 generations. 3 times removed, 3 generations, and such. So
Okay, so my question for that is, when you're writing, Lucy, how deep do you dive into this research? Because I think I would just get swept into, like, oh, the chart, and I can't stop.
it's hard to stop. I will tell you, it's so much fun. And what I've been doing is I've been trying to sort of focus on a little bit of a different aspect of genealogy with each book so far. I mean, and like for that one, it turns out to be working through the genealogy relationship chart, and figuring out how the killer was related to the person he was trying to kill. And
Of
then the
course.
second one, yes, exactly. And then the second one, Lineage Most Lethal, is about working through the pedigree chart or the ancestral chart. And then the one that I'm working on right now, which will come out next year, it'll come out July 20th of next year. I just got my dates. And that one will be dealing with war records. And so researching that and everything. So it's a very fun rabbit hole to go down. There's a lot of information and I love it, but it's so much fun.
That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
give us your number 2. What's the second thing
Okay.
you want readers to know?
Well, about my book, I had fun using a lot of my own family and family information in book 2. I did in book 1 as well. And but in this one, for instance, because it was World War II, I have a great uncle who fought in Patton's army. And so I used his information for Lucy's grandfather's unit, and I had him fighting with Patton's army as well. And then when Lucy's grandfather reveals what his code name was, and I think I just gave away spoiler alert there, and there's an espionage element that I did not mention. And so when Lucy reveals, or when her grandpa reveals his code name, it is the name of my great uncle, and who fought in World War II. There's also Lucy interviews her clients' cousins for what's called oral history, basically listening to them telling stories about their family and recording it so that it lives on and everything. And this oral history is really, really important for people to talk about amongst their family and record, because these stories do go missing if you over time, if you don't talk about them. And so, anyway, one of the stories is about these three cousins, and they had just watched the 1954 horror classic that's called Them. And anyway, and then their grandfather goes and scares them to death, and it's really funny. And this actually happened with my mom and her two cousins, and it's a story I've grown up hearing. And so when you read that, you can know I did have to fudge the timeline a little bit and everything, but whenever you read that, you can know that it is real. Um, the one of the doctors is one of my cousin's names, and then the National Archives archivist that I used is actually a friend of mine. That one is in honor of a friend of mine because he did pass away, but he was a history geek and absolutely loved it, and so I used his name. So that was a lot of fun, and putting some of my own family history into the story. So
I love that. I think that's
yeah.
such a gift as a writer that we get to take these little parts of people who we know and love and weave them in, and, a subtle little nod even.
Yes, it's a lot of fun to bring those stories in and whatnot, and actually the name of the main character, Lucy's client, is Pippa Sutton, and Sutton is also a family name for me. Although I'm not technically related to him, it was my great grandmother's second husband, but I grew up hearing the name Sutton, and so I decided to put it in. So that
I
is
love
how she
it.
got her name. Yes.
And Cheryl says, don't take so long to write down those oral histories. It's such a good gift, even if you don't want to write a book, just to share that with your family, because you're right, those can disappear then.
Exactly. It's a really amazing thing to do, and so Lucy actually records them, sort of like what we're doing now. She sits and talks to them, and it's a big thing in genealogy, and I highly recommend it for people wanting to really delve into their genealogy and pass it along to subsequent generations.
That's awesome. Okay, moving on. What is your number 3?
Okay, number 3 is another DNA. No, sorry, another genealogy tidbit, and that is that your DNA is between you and your brothers and sisters can vary, even if you're full of brothers and sisters. And I'm talking about their nationalities. Again, let's say that you are half German and half Irish. But if you go and take a DNA test, and then you may be 60% German and 40% Irish, but then your sibling may be 30% Irish and 70% German, or it could be flip flop. They could be 70% Irish and 30% German, even though you're completely full siblings. And so that is one thing about these DNA tests that people don't really realize. They think that they're going to come back and they'll say, oh, well, my mom's, from Germany and my dad's from Ireland, and so I'm going to be 50-50. Well, you're really not going to be. So that's really fascinating. And sometimes even whenever I found out about this, I read a story about it, and they showed, I believe it was 4 sisters, and they knew they had a ton of Irish in them. And the one that looked the most Irish actually had the least in her DNA. And so that I thought that was really, really interesting. So whenever you go, if you do that and it comes back and you think, wow, I thought that I would be more Scottish or German or Russian or whatever and everything, you never know. It just is the way that the DNA, happens whenever you're being formed. So I thought that
That's
was really interesting.
fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Love it. Now I want to go get
yes.
my DNA tested.
I know. That's one thing I haven't done yet. A lot of people in my family, including my mom, have, but I haven't. So I'm really interested to see what I will turn out to be.
That could
So
be a plot for a future book too. Someone who's upset about
exactly,
they're convinced they're 100% Irish, let's say, and they find out they're not.
exactly. I
Like
know.
it.
Every time that I hear this stuff, I mean, just the plots just start, forming.
Totally.
So there's so many things you can do with genealogy.
Okay, moving on. What is your number 4?
Number 4, and a little fact about my books, and this is something that I actually just realized. I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I have put Easter eggs in my books that tell you what Lucy will be up to next. And so, yeah, and in my first book, Murder Once Removed, Lucy is describing her desk. and on her desk, it actually belonged to her grandfather, and she explains this and everything. And there's something that is carved into the desk. And as soon as I wrote it, I just, I had no idea what Grandpa was going to be. And as soon as I wrote it, I knew what he was, I knew what his secret was, and I knew what I really wanted to write about whenever I got to Grandpa. Now, I actually thought about waiting to write Grandpa, and I wanted to get maybe a little bit more into Lucy's life and everything. But Grandpa is a World War II veteran, and they are passing away at an alarming rate. And so I realized that I had to put him in, and I'm so glad that I did, because I had so much fun writing him. He is just the greatest. He's a pistol, and I love him. And I've gotten the best comments about him. People write, "I love Grandpa," and like lots of exclamation points and stuff. So I'm so glad, and I think that he'll definitely show back up again. So because I just adored writing him.
I know, and I always am shocked at like that creative process where you have an idea and it's probably just like somewhere buried in the back of your head, and then you realize, oh no, I've set this whole new plot forward that wasn't necessarily intentional, but it makes perfect sense, right?
Exactly, exactly. And in Lineage Most Lethal, I did the same thing. And it was just something that I was writing, and it just came out. And sure enough, it ended up being the next book. And and my earbuds, seriously. And yeah, and whenever I started book three, it just came naturally. So I think there is something in my writer's mind that just says, it's already thinking into the next book. And so, but it was funny because I didn't even really realize that I was doing it, but I think it's fun. And so I'm excited for book three to come out now too. It's been a lot of fun to write.
I have found that usually it's those unexpected plot points that you're not so conscious of that end up being the best too, where you're like, oh, thank you. Okay, I guess we're going this
Yes,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah, that's something I think that's a little wonderful thing about being a writer is stuff like that. When that happens, it's just magic.
Super magic. Okay,
Hmm.
last but not least, what is your number 5?
Hi. So my last thing is a little tidbit about myself, just a little fun thing. So I actually am related to Humphrey Bogart, and who I just have always adored his movies and everything. And he is my third cousin, twice removed. So we go way back. Now he is. It's let's see. He's his second great grandfather and my fourth great grandfather are the same person. Actually, the couple, they are our grandparents. So, and his our mutual ancestor is named Dyer Perkins, and I know that your maiden name is Dyer. So I thought that that was really cool. And the other thing that I found out in researching is whenever it came down, because we share a bunch of ancestors, and then whenever it finally splits off, and it splits off that my ancestor is John Dyer Perkins, and then his sister was Elizabeth Rogers Perkins, and Elizabeth Rogers Perkins married a man named Harvey Humphrey, and that's where Humphrey Bogart gets his name, is from that name Humphrey. And I also realized, and this was just a little thing that I'm such a goofball, I loved that my ancestor, John Dyer Perkins, married a woman named Lucy. So, and since my character's name is Lucy and everything, and that just happens to be coincidence and everything, but I loved it. Those little things that just kind of come and kind of flit into your life and whatnot. So yeah, so I thought that that was a lot of fun whenever I found out. And I know that I have some family members watching and they may scoff at this, but I do remember being younger and thinking, Humphrey Bogart kind of looks like some of the men in my family. And I didn't think twice about it because I didn't find out until many, many years later. And then whenever I finally found out, I went, there you go.
There it is.
There's a connection in that Perkins line because he's a Perkins way back. So yeah.
Have you
I thought that
found
was
yourself
fun.
wanting to like quote his lines or something like that?
Yeah. Yes. And I always love it. Whenever I'm on Twitter and I do a memes, there's so many that I'll choose from Humphrey Bogart and everything that are a lot of fun. So I don't know. I'm just a goofball like that, but it's fun. It's fun to have somebody that you can go to and say, "Hey, I can connect myself to this famous person." So, yeah,
That's fantastic. I love it.
it is. Yeah.
Okay, now I have 5 questions for you.
Okay, hit
I
me.
know. Are you feeling nervous?
No, except that
Oh.
I just totally banged into my wall there.
You're supposed to feel the pressure. This is like the hot. No, I'm kidding. No.
Okay, yes, yes. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, of course, of course. Come on.
Bring it,
Yeah.
Ellie.
Okay, my first question is, what is the most unexpected thing that you've found about being a mystery writer?
Oh, goodness. Wow. I don't know. I think it is about what you talked about, how incredibly helpful the mystery community is, and we're a very tight knit group. But there's other groups out there, the romance writers groups and everything like that and everything. But the mystery writers groups, we are truly amazing in that how we really support each other and help each other out, and you see it all over the place. It's just truly, truly great. And I didn't know what to expect and everything, and then to just get this outpouring of support is really, really just truly incredible, and I loved it. So yeah, I think other than that, I don't know. An unexpected thing about being a mystery, maybe like I was talking about, almost like the little bit of magic that comes with these whenever you're writing, and then just suddenly things just start flowing. And that's just more about being a writer, though, than specifically mystery. But yeah, it's a really, really wonderful thing. I'm so thrilled to be in the mystery writer genre. I just love it.
That's awesome. Okay, question number 2 is, what is the biggest myth of mystery writing?
Oh gosh, that because we write about murder and we write about people getting killed and whatnot, that we must have some dark personality or dark desires, or be fascinated with murder in a way that is, for lack of a better word, unnatural or negative in some way. And I found that, especially those of us in the cozy mystery genre, but I think it applies to all of us, that we write about mystery and whatnot because we take these bad things that happen and we turn it into a way to right a wrong. And so I love that about being a mystery writer, is being able to make my character right or wrong, take something and figure out something and bring justice to a situation. And especially in cozies, because our characters are amateur sleuths and they're not professionals in any way. I think all of us really would love to be able to go out there and help someone and help discover the reason why a bad thing happened, and to bring something to justice or someone to justice. And we get to do that. And I absolutely love that part about mystery writing. And so, yeah, I think that that's the biggest myth, that we have a fascination with murder, and it's actually the opposite. I think we have a fascination with justice and with the truth. So
Yeah,
that's
I
what
would
I
totally
like.
agree with
Yeah.
that. And yeah, I think people are surprised sometimes that it's like, oh, wait, you're not like really into the macabre and this idea of like, no, I don't want that actually. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that that's a really, really wonderful thing about our genre. So that people don't know.
Exactly. That's true. That is a myth. And I always say that writing cozies is a little bit like writing a fairy tale, because everything sort of does come out perfectly in the end, right? You know that if you're reading one
Yes.
of these books, you're going to have closure and everything is going to be neatly wrapped up, which doesn't happen in the real world. So I think that's why they resonate too.
Exactly. I completely agree. Completely agree.
Love it. Okay, moving on to number 3. What this comes up a lot for me, and I'm sure that you get this now too. What is your best advice for anyone writing mystery, wanting to write a mystery? And I know on this particular live group, there are quite a few people who are working on first mysteries or editing a book that they've been working on.
Yes. So I think my best advice is, beyond reading a lot and reading a lot of mysteries in the genre that you want to write, whether that's cozy or suspense or thriller or whatever, is to have your work professionally edited. This obviously comes before you get your agent and whatnot. You want to hire an edit. You want to get a full edit. These can be very expensive. So I mean, someone $2,000 to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 and everything. They can be written off. I mean, you check with your CPA and whatnot. But let me tell you, getting it edited and then being willing to go back and rip it all apart if you have to and
Yeah.
rewrite it and possibly do it again and again and again until it is good. And that and going to conferences, and obviously all of them are online now, but that's even better for you because you can go and be involved in some of these conferences and listen to these panels and listen to these authors writing and giving advice and ask questions and whatnot. And you would have had to have paid a whole bunch of money to go to them as they are in general, and they're still worth it. And I so hope they come back because they're so much fun. But the ones that are online now, you can go and pay a certain amount, and some of them are even free, and get so much good advice. And you just learn a lot about the trade craft there. But my biggest thing is really get it edited, pay that money, make the effort, and be willing to accept what your editor tells you to. In a certain extent, you need to have your own confidence in your own writing too, but be willing to redo it, rewrite it again and again until it's good.
I think that's fantastic advice. In fact, I was on a Zoom call with a friend yesterday who's working on a memoir, and she just hired a professional editor before she starts submitting it to agents, which I recommended to her too. But she was shocked by the sticker price. I mean, the minimum price is usually, like you're saying, a few $1,000s, if not a lot more. But if you think about investing in a career, people pay
Exactly.
thousands upon thousands upon thousands to get a specialized degree. So really, in the scheme of things, if you're willing to invest that money in your writing, it's always worth it.
I completely agree. Very, very much.
And I think, also circling back to your point about being willing to hear that feedback is so important, especially for new writers. I grew up with my dad, I think you know this already, but who was an English teacher and a Shakespeare professor. And so he would just bloody my work. Any essay that I turned in, he would rip apart. But I really think that made me so open to wanting to constantly improve my writing, which is what we're doing multiple books in now too.
Exactly. And you get better and better with each one. And getting critiqued like that, it will help you so much in the future, believe me, and everything, because, nobody is going to just be universally wonderful to you and everything. You're going to have to put up with and accept the fact that people won't see your character as wonderful as you do or whatever, or the book as wonderful as you do and everything. And you're going to have to accept it. So you have to learn to get that criticism and then still be able to write and write well and improve yourself and everything. And I try to look at it as a way to improve myself with each book if I can. And I've told people a lot of times that I really don't read my reviews. I learned that in journalism school not to do that. But I do get reviews that are sent to me sometimes, and sometimes people email me. So I know the farther that I get into it, the less I'll be able to not read my reviews and everything. But I still think of them very, very much as a learning experience, and everybody has a right to their opinion. And so, and I think that that's one of the great things about books is there's something out there for everyone. And if somebody doesn't like my book, I tell them, how about giving it to somebody who might like it? And that's the best way, pass along a book, and maybe somebody else might discover you. So, and it's all good in my experience. Everything from the getting edited to the critiques and everything. It's a wonderful part of this experience. So I embrace it all.
I think that's awesome. I want to remind everybody, if you have specific questions for Stephanie, start asking them now, because we always have that little bit of a delay. And then once we finish my last couple questions here, I will put up your questions for her. Okay, moving on to number 4. If you had to pick any celebrity, let's say that you were flying again, okay? And I know we're not right now, but and you don't fly anyway. Let's say you're getting on a train. How's that? You're getting on a train and you turn to the seat next to you and you see a celebrity reading Lineage Most Lethal. Who would your dream celebrity be?
Oh gosh. There would be so many. I will confess that whenever I see Lucy, I see an actress named Rachel Bilson. She
Oh,
was, yes, and she was in a show called Heart of Dixie. She was, for some people, know her from the OC, which I actually didn't watch. But I've always thought she was so cute, and I always see an actress whenever I write. And so from moment one, I've seen Rachel Bilson as Lucy. And so if I saw her reading Lineage Most Lethal, I'd be thrilled. So, and there's so many others and everything, but since I've always seen her in my mind, that's who I think would excite me the most.
and then would you run up to her and be like, "That's my book. You're reading my book," or would you just be super chill
Yes.
about it? Yeah. Okay. Good. Me too.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, yeah, and I'd be like, and that I see you, and so here,
Yeah.
have more, you
What
know.
else can I give you? How do we make this
Can we be
happen?
friends?
Yeah.
Yes, I'd be a real goofball about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
So,
I hear from these people who would be like, "Oh, I'd be so chill." Not me. I would just be like totally gushing like crazy. Mm-mm.
oh yeah, completely.
Okay, last but not least, question number 5. I think I know the answer to this. I think it might involve tacos, but I want to know what you think. What do you think is the perfect food and drink to pair with your books?
Okay, well, you are right. It's tacos, definitely. Lucy is a taco-holic, and she just, that is her favorite all-time food. And but with the drink, I actually have a slight sensitivity to tequila, so I can't drink margaritas. And so for me, a beer goes really, really well with tacos. Let me tell you, fantastic. And I know you love your beer, so I mean, so that's awesome. And then I happen to like bourbon, and I happen to like old fashions, and so they actually go really, really well with tacos too. But yeah, tacos, fajitas, anything Tex-Mex goes really, really well with my books, I think.
I love that.
And any drink you want, yeah,
And a nice bourbon on a hot Texas afternoon? Come on.
it's really good, really, really good.
That's awesome. Oh, you're such a good sport. Okay, so I know that we have some questions for you. So
Okay.
Renee asks, if how did you get started and interested in genealogy to begin with?
Thank you, Renee. Have always had a bunch of amateur genealogists in my family, going back to my great grandfather, who wrote, I think, 3 books about our family genealogy. And every time I would go over to my paternal grandmother's house, there was always some genealogy stuff going on. Always, she always had a new ancestor to tell me about, going back to. Um, William the Conqueror and Charlemagne. And I've just found out recently that we are related to one of the signers of the Magna Carta. And, and then the American Revolution, everything. And yeah, so it's always been a part of my life. On my mom's side as well, we've always been very interested in it. My mom and my dad's mom used to go genealogy hunting a little bit, and there's a great genealogy library here in Houston that I'll give shout out to. It's a Clayton Genealogical Library, and it's just been so much fun. And so I was actually at a writers' conference, and they were talking about characters with interesting jobs, and I was sitting there thinking a genealogist would make a great job for an amateur sleuth. And I just went and started writing it down, and so it came out of that, and that was, I think, in 2013 or 2014. So it's not a quick process, people. Even though I did get discovered through a contest, it was still 2 years of writing and getting it edited and rewriting it and all of that stuff, and polishing and polishing before I even sent it off to the contest. So,
So true. I do think you're
yes,
genius in terms of the genealogy thing with Lucy because, if you're that invested in research, like that just innately is going to make you a good sleuth, right? Because you're puzzling through all of those old articles and making those connections.
exactly. That's why she thinks of herself as the ancestry detective.
Yeah.
And I have Lucy's already having that idea in her head, and that's what she calls her job, her company's Ancestry Investigations. And so she sees herself, she just goes down a familial trail, a genealogical trail, a DNA trail sometimes. And but yeah, it's all about the solving of the puzzles and making things work together to figure out what's happening. So it worked out great. And there's and I can put a murder in the past and murder in the present. And so
Bring
I
them
will tell you
together.
what, though, you asked me about exactly. You asked me what was one of the funny things about being a mystery writer. In my first draft of Murder Once Removed, and I sent it off to this really wonderful editor in Austin. Her name's Erin Brown, and she's erinedits.com if anybody's in Austin and looking for a great editor. And she wrote me back and she said, "You need another dead body." And that's something that you don't hear in any place else but mystery
Right.
writers and mystery writing convention talking about poisoning people and,
Yeah.
and, oh, you need another dead body and everything. And the funniest thing is being like out in a restaurant where we're not around other writers and talking about dead bodies. And then people, turn and look at us like
Yeah.
we're
I was
very
gonna,
strange.
yeah. It's
Yes.
so
And
true.
everything. But that was what she said. She said, you need another dead body. So I, having one in the past and one in the present. So it makes it a lot of fun.
That was good advice. And that is a good segue into our next question from Diana, who wants to know, how do you pick the murder victim?
Ooh. Well, the one in the past is just generally, I kind of think about who I want my Lucy's client to be. And then I pick sort of somebody in their past. And I also want it to be, my first two books, I also chose a time period that I felt was interesting to me. And then I sort of go from there. And in the murder victim in the present, that is sort of comes as it comes. I really haven't thought about it that much. As they just sort of pops up as the person that sort of needs to carry forth the investigation to have Lucy get involved in the present. And so yeah, so that's in my first book. Whenever I had to suddenly put this character in that gets killed in the present, it was so hard because I actually ended up loving this character. The character's name was Winnie Dell, and I've had people write me back and say, I really wish she hadn't have died because I loved her, and I loved her too. It was terrible having to kill her off, but
Kill
yeah,
your
I mean,
darlings.
she exactly kill your darling. She was there specifically to snuff it. So,
It
but
happens.
yeah, that's it. It does. It happens.
That's the way it goes. Okay, kind of in the
Yep.
same vein, Lily Ann wants to know, how do you make a decision to use a particular murder weapon and or victim?
Oh, okay. So murder weapon. I have thought about where I want my murder, at least in the first book, where I wanted the murder to happen and what could be available. And because I did not actually want there to be a gun involved. And and then in this, so that's sort of where I came from with there. And I just thought about, what could possibly have killed her when she was in her office. In the murder in the past, I did have to do a little bit of sleuthing as to what could possibly work and everything as to how they could be murdered and of course, knives and guns were very, very prevalent, in the past and everything like that. So I mean, that was sort of a no-brainer there. For Lineage Most Lethal, I needed to have a character for there's several deaths in Lineage Most Lethal, but for the first one, I needed to have a character be alive for a certain amount of time and to be able to be cognizant and to be able to get to Lucy. And when you read the book, you will find out what I mean by that. And so there, I actually paid a little bit of homage to one of my favorite sort of B-list movies. I don't know if you ever saw the Meg Ryan, Dennis Quaid movie, DOA.
No.
Do you remember that book? Oh, it's
Uh-uh.
it's so good,
Okay.
and it was movie rather. And well, anyway, he is poisoned by this particular type of poison. I'm not going to say what it is and everything, but he is able to try to solve his own murder. And
Mm.
I thought it was the coolest thing, and I loved it. So I sort of used that as my little homage to one of my favorite, B movies. And so, yeah. But I actually just sort of have fun with it and stuff. I try to think of things that just, I haven't seen before, haven't done before. And so we'll see where it goes from here. But that's been my process thus far.
I always joke, like, as my series continues, am I going to run out of ways to kill people off first or recipes? I can't decide.
Exactly. I know, right?
I
I know
know.
I do worry about repeating myself and everything, and I'm only on my third book and everything. So I can imagine with you, and you have multiple series too. I mean, my goodness, that has to be. Do you have a running list of how I killed this, person and
No, I
how
probably
I killed
should,
people?
huh? Do you? Oh,
I
it's too
don't
late.
either, but
Start now. Start now.
right, exactly. I love it. I
Everybody's
love
saying
it.
that DOA is a good movie, so we'll have to. I'm gonna have to add that to
Is
my
it?
movie viewing list. And
Thank
Karen is from
you.
Austin as well, so she says hello.
Oh, great. Yay. Hi. I'm
Yay,
in Houston, but I love Austin. So, yay.
Texas
Yeah.
sisters. All right, well, I think that wraps up our live. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been fascinating to hear about your process and how much history and genealogy you weave into the series. So tell everybody about where they can find Lineage Most Lethal, and then your third book comes out next July. Do you have a title yet?
I do. The
Okay.
third book is titled Fatal Family Ties.
Fatal Family
And
Ties.
yes, and it has a little bit of Civil War in there, and it's also about art. So I actually got to do a lot of art investigation, which has been a lot of fun. And so Lineage Most Lethal is available everywhere. It's also on ebook and audiobook. And so you can order it from any of all the regular places. I highly encourage you to order from your nearest local independent bookseller if you can. They are the most wonderful, and they need our help. And they can order you anything that you want. So if you want my book and then you want a book about mythology, they can order you that too. And they're just wonderful. So I highly recommend that. But it is available everywhere. You can find me on my website, which is scperkins.com. And I am on all platforms, Facebook to Goodreads, Twitter, Instagram at SC Perkins Writer. And so, yep, that's me.
I
So
love
this
it. And
was so much
Sherry
fun.
wants to know, are you
Okay.
signing any books at Murder by the Book? Since it's right.
Yes, and I think they do have a couple of signed ones, but if not, I will be more than happy. I have to go over there to sign a couple that some friends of mine purchased. And so if you happen to want to purchase through Murder by the Book, I would love that. I'd be happy to sign it, and that would be so great. Thank you so much.
They're the best.
They are.
Before I'm going to say goodbye to Steph, and then I have a couple things to share with everybody before we sign off. But again, thank you so much. Congratulations on the release.
Thank
It's
you.
such a good series, and I'm so excited that there's more to come.
Thank you so much. You're wonderful. And this was a blast. Thank you.
I know, so
And
fun.
I'll be seeing you soon. Okay,
See
bye.
you soon. Bye. Yay, isn't she the best? I love her so much. And that's what I love about our mystery writing community. Everyone is just so genuinely supportive of each other. And of course, Stephanie has that lovely Southern hospitality. So I'm not kidding. When I was in Texas, she's like, "Where do you want to go? I'll drive you anywhere." And she showed me all around town. So fun. I'm glad that some of you have been introduced to her. If you haven't before, I highly recommend her books. You will love them. Okay, so a couple quick things before we wrap up this week's 5 Things Live. And that is that our cozy mystery collaboration, you can sign up for it right here or join the group. You don't even have to sign up, but we are doing it in a private group. I know lots of you are already on it, but in case you're not, I'm sharing the first pages of our Sloan short story spinoff on Monday in the group. So you're not too late to join in. It's been so fun to build another story together, and it's already taking shape, which is so exciting. You can get caught up, or you can join us Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to hear me read the first part of our Sloan Krause spinoff. It's going to be super fun. And then no Friday Live next week. I will be back in 2 weeks from now with another author guest. Esme Addison is going to be my guest in 2 weeks. Next week, no Friday Live because, my tech guy, he's taking off to go man camping with all of his friends. I say that in jest. No one deserves a break more than he does. He has been deep in the weeds editing the very last videos for my mystery series masterclass that is coming soon, maybe even by the end of next week. So he definitely deserves a weekend away camping with his dudes. I'm so excited for him. And I'm actually on deadline for a new book. So I'm going to be editing away down here. So no live next Friday, but join me back here in 2 Fridays to meet Esme, and we'll chat more. Oh, man, I know, right, Lillian? How dare they? How dare he go away? I am going to read it out loud again, Jess. I hope you all enjoyed that. It's weird for me. I think I've shared that, traditionally I don't love to read my work out loud, but I feel like with this being our collective process, I don't feel as uptight about it because I know it's also a work in progress. Whereas if I'm reading a finished copy, I'm much more critical of myself in my head as I read. But yeah, okay, so just to recap, 4 o'clock on Monday in the Facebook group for the first pages. And then we'll take a break and we'll be back here for 5 things in 2 weeks. So the tech guy can have a break. I hope you enjoyed this chat with Steph Perkins. And remember, if you're looking for her books, she's SC. As always, have a great weekend and happy reading.